Hi everybody, it's Derek from Ada Community Library and welcome back to another week of Kids Who Code. We are in week 5 and we're going to be learning some new vocabulary words and concepts, and then I'm applying them in some unplugged and plugged in activities. So let's go ahead and get started. And just a reminder real quick, we will be using the Girls Who Code curriculum for today's project, and we'll also be doing our coding on Scratch. Okay, so we are in chapter 3 of the Girls Who Code, Learn to Code and Change the World book, and we're going to go ahead and go over some of the vocabulary words in that chapter. And the first one is algorithm. So an algorithm is a set of steps that a computer follows to complete a task. So if you want to think about it in real life, if you've ever taken a dance class before or learned some new moves, typically there's a series of steps that you do to perform that dance, okay? Alright, pseudocode is the next vocabulary word, and that's something that is basically, it's something that's easy for humans to understand. It's human notes, and it explains what your code is before you actually put your code in and into a different form that the computer can understand. So you see some sticky notes there in the picture, and we'll actually be able to put those into our Scratch project here in a little bit. Okay, so function is the next one, and that's a list of steps in a program. They're all wrapped together like a math problem. Okay, so you can see there's a calculator there, and kind of a similar example. When you give that calculator input, then it will give you the output, right, or an answer. And there is actually a function key on calculators. Okay, and parameters is our last term, and that's the kind of variable that gets passed through a function. So it's just the input that you send to the function. Okay, so for our unplugged activity, why don't you go ahead and think of a dance that you may know or have learned, and just get a piece of paper and a pencil and write some step-by-step instructions for those dance moves. And you can see here in our picture here, it looks like that's Michael Jackson, and you can see some of his classic moves. So go ahead and you can pause the video here and you can work on that for a few minutes just for fun, just to kind of get you thinking in terms of algorithms, and then we can go ahead and get into our project. Okay, so welcome back, and now it's time to jump into our project for today. And this one is actually, it's a pretty in-depth one, and it's going to take more than one session, so we're just going to get started on it today and start applying some of these concepts that we just talked about. Alright, so let's go ahead and scoot over to the Scratch website, and I'm going to go ahead and clear out of there myself for a moment here. And we'll come right back over here. Okay. Alright, so go ahead and sign into your account, and then let's see, we can get started here. Okay, so once you're in, go ahead and go up to the Create button up here in the upper left corner. Click on that. And we'll start creating our new project, okay? So just to give you a sample of what we're going to be building today, let me go ahead and switch over to example on my computer. Oops. So I can get to the right screen here. There we go. So today's project, we're going to be applying some of those things like algorithms and functions and so on in a game. Okay, so in this game we have good old Scratchy there, and she is out there in the field and kind of hungry, and just in a minute there are going to be things falling from the sky like fish and rocks. Okay, so we're going to code our game here today so Scratchy can try to catch some of those fish and rocks as they're dropping from the sky. Okay. Alright, so go ahead and get back over to Scratch here. Alright, and then once you're logged in, we'll just go back up to the Create button there and get started. Okay, so first off, let's make this look a little bit more like a game and get some more interesting background here. So let's go ahead and go into the choose a backdrop, and if I did that a little bit fast for you, let me back up. Down here in the lower right corner, you want to choose a backdrop button there. Okay, and then here there are a bunch of different samples of backgrounds that you can put into your Scratch project. I'm going to click on the menu up here for outdoors, and I'm going to look for that hayfield, which is somewhere down here. Okay, and once you find that, or whatever background you'd like to have, you can just click on it and it should drop it right down into your sandbox there in Scratch. Okay, so first thing we're going to want to work on here is coding Scratchy, and we're going to go ahead and go over here to the side buttons, and we're going to grab it when green flag is clicked, drag that over, and then we're going to want to have Scratchy do that little dialogue where you saw the little word bubbles before we get started. So to do that, we're going to go over here to the looks button, okay, and then we can just grab one of these purple blocks, say hello for 2 seconds. Alright, now you can just edit this and have Scratchy say something else besides hello, and you can just click right in the circle there and click delete on your keyboard, and then you can put a new message in there. You can put hi, my name is, you can type what your real name or a different name for Scratchy, whatever you want. I'm just going to put Scratchy for mine. And right now it says that the word bubble there is going to appear for 2 seconds if you click on it. And if you want it to go longer, you can just edit that out and type in a different number of seconds. I think I'll do 4 seconds for mine. It's long enough you can have time to read it. Okay, so Scratchy's going to say a little bit more, and what we can do is just grab some more blocks and just keep adding to it. Now you can do what you want on this one. You can make up your own little introduction, but you want to kind of set the scene for what's happening in the game. So, you know, Scratchy, in our example we saw a minute ago, Scratchy's talking about how she's hungry, and the weather forecast has stuff falling out of the sky. So go ahead and type in whatever you want. I'm going to type I'm pretty hungry, and I'm going to grab some more blocks here. And the weatherman says it's going to start raining fish soon, okay? And we're going to go ahead and get some fish sprites here in a bit, in case you're wondering. And you can choose fish, or there'll be other sprites, of course. So I'm going to go with fish, and we can always edit that out later if you decide you want a different kind of sprite or object flying from the sky. Alright, I'm going to type a little bit more in here. Help me catch some for lunch. okay? Okay. Alright, so let's go ahead and click the green flag here and see that everything's working. Okay, so there's all the different little word bubbles that we just coded. And looking good. So now let's go ahead and code Scratchy so that Scratchy will move back and forth when we click on our arrow keys on our keyboard. And this is kind of like what we worked on in last week's project, so this might be familiar to you already. So what we're going to want to do is go over to the events button there and grab a when space key is pressed, drag that over, okay, and go ahead and click on the box there where it says space, and you'll see here are all the different, all these words correspond to the keys on your keyboard. Up arrow, down arrow, all the letters. Okay, so what we're going to want to do for now is just have Scratchy go from left to right. So we can just choose the first one to be the when the left arrow key is pressed, then something's going to happen. Okay, and then let's go ahead and grab another one while we're at it, and then right arrow. Okay. All right, so now we're going to need to go over here to the motion buttons and grab a couple of blocks out of here. So first we're going to go over and grab a change X by block here, and let's see. Okay, go ahead and drag that, and you can just put that there on the left arrow key press. Okay, now the X, in case you don't remember, that's referring to the X-axis here on the screen, which is something we can't see. And let me just show you a quick example. Let's see here. Okay, so just a refresher here. You see these two examples here of X and Y positions. So the X position is a horizontal line that goes from left to right, okay, across the stage there in Scratch. All right, and the Y position is this horizontal line, okay, going from top to bottom. And again, it's in Scratch and you can't see it, but when we use those blocks of code, Scratch knows what to do with those, okay? So we'll look at that a little bit more here, how that works. Let's go back over and let me get to the right screen. Okay, so one other way to try to understand this or see how this works is over here underneath the stage, you'll see there's an X field there, and then there's a Y field. You see with the numbers. So go ahead and click and drag on Scratchy and let go of your mouse clicker, and then look down here and see how the numbers change. Okay, so right now the X is 8, the Y is 72. So if we move Scratchy over a little bit, you can see how the X changed. And now it's negative 144, and the Y position is 66. So if you just want to play around with that a little bit, you can kind of see how those numbers change on the X and Y axis and to the different positions. And Scratch tells you exactly where Scratchy is on the axis whenever you move her around, okay? Alright, so let's go ahead and go back into what we were just coding here. And what we're going to do is code the left arrow key on our keyboard. So when we tap on that key, Scratchy is going to move to the left. And what we're going to want to do is put in a negative number, okay? So let's try negative 10. And then go ahead and tap on your left arrow key on your keyboard, and you should see Scratchy moving to the left, okay? Now if we keep pressing, Scratchy is eventually going to disappear, okay? And we don't want that. So there's a cool block here in Scratch under the motion button for if on edge bounce. Okay, so let's go ahead and drop that in right with that other block. Okay, and now you see what happens when Scratchy gets close to that edge. That's as far as she's going to go, okay? Alright, and let's go ahead and code the other one now, the right arrow key. So the same thing, we're going to do change x, okay, and we're going to want to get a if on edge bounce, and put those all together. And notice now that we're going to leave the 10 as just a positive 10, okay, no minus there. And let's go ahead and tap your right arrow key, and you should see Scratchy bounce over there to the right, okay? Alright, so you also notice here that Scratchy is flipping around after she hits the edge there, so we can fix that by getting another block here, which is set rotation style. Okay, and that's right here. And we're going to put this one up here on top, right below the green flag. We'll clicked, and then Scratchy should be in the right alignment, going back and forth. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, it's not quite working yet, but let's go ahead and I just remember we need to name our program here before we go any further to save our work. So to do that, where you see me on the video here, I'm going to disappear off the screen for a minute. That's where we're going to name our project here. So let me just disappear. Oops. And right here, where it says Untitled 51 right now, just type over that and type in a name for your project here for your game. I'm just going to type in the sky is falling. Okay, we'll just do that. Whatever you want. Okay, and now this means that our project has a name, and it's going to be able to be saved and found in our Scratch account. Okay. When you go to this folder over here, you'll be able to find it in there. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to just click on File and Save Now, and this is what this does is it just updates all the changes we've made and saves our project. And then let's go ahead and run our hit the green flag and run our code here and just see how things are working. So right now Scratchy's given us her lines there. Okay, and now she's scooting back and forth when we hit the left and right arrows, and she's in the rotation style from left to right from that block that we added, okay? So nice and clean. Okay, so we're done coding Scratchy for right now, and we're going to go ahead and go a little further in, and we're going to need to add some more sprites or characters to our game. We need the fish that's falling from the sky, or whatever kind of animal or object you want. So what we're going to do is go down to the right corner to choose a sprite. Okay, and that'll take us into the sprite library. Okay, the same thing, there's a lot of choices. I'm going to just click right on animals, and I'm going to look for a fish, just like we saw in our example. And again, if you want to choose your own character here, there's a lot of fun ones, so it's totally up to you. And let's see here. Boy, there's a lot of options. Okay, so once you choose, decide on which one you want to be falling from the sky, you can just go ahead and click on it. Okay. And I think I'm going to choose this shark here. Okay. Alright, now the shark's kind of big, so if you want to change the size of your sprite, you can always go over here and right above the blocks of code there are these tabs, okay? Code, costumes, and sounds. So if you click on costumes, That's going to give you the ability to edit your sprite. Okay, so if you just click somewhere on there, you should get that box with the dots on the edges, and you can go ahead and just click and drag on there. Oops, now that is not changing everything I want to. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the control key and the A key on my keyboard, and that's going to select everything at once. Okay, then let's go ahead and try to click on that corner there, and then you see how the sprite changes shape. You click on the corner and drag. Okay. Alright. That's a better size. Okay. Alright, and then once you're done with that, you can just go ahead and click back up here in the upper left corner on the code tab and go back out. Okay, so now notice that we have our other sprite, our shark sprite, and then down here is the instance of the sprite here. You want to make sure that this one down here is selected with the blue shading on there, and then we will know that the code will be going to this sprite. Okay, if you click on the Scratchy sprite here, do you see how the code appears? Okay, and that code is only for Scratchy, right? And then if we click on the shark, anything we put over here is going to be for the shark only. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's make a function. So that was one of our vocabulary words that we talked about, and what I'd like to do is do a separate little exercise here just to kind of help us understand how functions are built and how they work. So what I'm going to do here is we can leave our project just where it is, and it's already saved because we named it. And what we're going to want to do is you can go up here to File on the main menu and click New. Okay, and then this is going to be our function example. Okay, this is just going to be a little short exercise just to build a quick little function. All right, and then we can go back to our project. So I'd say up here, let's go ahead and first type in a name for this example of a function. So function example is what I put. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and reappear here on the video. I forgot that I closed out of that and never came back on. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's go ahead and do our function example. So what we're going to want to do is from the buttons here on the side, we're going to want to go down to the My Blocks button, the red one down there in the bottom. Okay, and then you see there's no blocks in here, but there's a Make a Block. So let's go ahead and click on that. And this is where we're going to create our function. Okay, so right now there's a couple different options, and we're going to want to just choose the one up here on top. And it says block name, and we want to name it something else. So in our function example, this is going to be, we're going to make the Scratchy sprite walk. So I'm just going to name the function walking, and you can name it whatever you want. Something to help you remember what the function is for. And then you can hit the enter on your keyboard, or click OK down there. Okay, so now we have this red block here, okay? And this is going to be our function. And what we need to do now is put those steps, when we talked about earlier, the algorithm is a bunch of steps, right, for the computer to follow. And we're going to want to go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and get some steps in there. And what we'll do is go over here to the motion button, and we're going to grab a blue move 10 steps block. If you click on that, you see how Scratchy is moving, right? Okay. So we're going to use one of those in our function as one of the steps. And then what we're going to do is go over here to the control button, and we're going to grab a repeat block here. Okay, and this is one of the loops like we learned about last week. Anything inside here is going to repeat, and right now it's at 10. It's going to do the same thing 10 times in a row. Alright, so if we click on that now, Scratchy is going to move 10 steps and he's going to repeat that 10 times over again. Okay, so let's go ahead and put that up there. And now we've created our function here. So why do what does this all mean? So what we want to do is go back and we can leave this as is. And now we're going to go ahead and go up to the events button, and we're going to actually do code for our little example. And we're going to put this function inside it. Okay, so we're going to get a when green flag is clicked, or the green flag is clicked to start the program. Okay, and then Scratchy is going to say a little something. And we're going to type in, I'm going for a walk. Okay, for just a couple of seconds. All right. Now, here's where we're going to put our function in. So if you go back down here to the My Blocks button, and we're going to click on that walking block. So now, go ahead and click the green flag and see what happens. Okay, so Scratchy gave her message to us and then did the walking. Okay, now if Scratchy is going to be walking all over the screen, we can either choose to do a bunch of blocks of code for every time Scratchy walks, or we can just use this little block, this function block, walking, and that contains all of the steps that are down here. Okay, so let's see how that works. Let's go ahead and expand this a little bit more, and Scratchy is going to walk a little bit and then say something more. Okay, and then we'll go down to My Blocks, grab another walking block. Okay, and let's see what happens here. I'm going for a walk, walks a little bit, talks, and walks a little bit further, okay? Alright, so this is a simple example, but when you have a function that has a lot of steps in it, like say it has 5 or 10 steps or more, you can either, and it's a repetitive task, like maybe it's your sprite is walking, or maybe your sprite is doing something else. A faster way to code those repetitive steps is to use a single block that contains all the steps here, okay? Alright, so one more fun thing before we leave Scratchy is we're going to go over here to costumes. And you'll look in here, and under costumes there's actually 2 different Scratchy poses there, okay? Costume 1, costume 2. So this is just a little added flair, but what we can do is have Scratchy go back and forth between these two positions, and then it'll make things look a little bit cooler when we run our code. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over here to the looks button, and we're going to choose next costume and drop that in there. And let's go ahead and run our code again. Okay, and so Scratchy she has a little pitter patter going with her feet, and so that's it. That's our function example. This is a basic one, and we're actually going to make some more of those blocks in our project today. Okay, so now if you're wondering how we get back to where we were earlier, what you can do is you can click on the folder up here in the corner, and you probably get a message about, do you want to leave, changes may not be saved. If you want to just be sure you save your work here on this example, you go to File and Save Now, okay? Alright. And then we can go ahead and go over here to the folder, and then this is a list of all of our projects that we've done, or you've done. Okay, so the sky is falling is right here in the list, so I'm going to go ahead and click See Inside on the button, and then we'll get back to our other project, okay? Alright, so now that we know how a function works, we're going to go ahead and set a function up for the fish. So what you're going to want to do here is, or shark, is you're going to want to click on the shark sprite down here, make sure that sprite is selected, and then we're going to do a little bit of code. So let's go ahead and go down to My Blocks button, and we're going to do Make a Block. Okay, and then this time we're going to do one that's a new function, and we can name it whatever we want, but basically this is going to be a function for the shark to be falling from the sky. So I'm going to name my function Fall from Sky. Okay, and then click OK. Alright, so now we need to get those steps coded on here for how that shark is going to be falling from top to bottom. Okay, so let's go ahead and now another thing we can do to kind of help us to remember what these function blocks are for is we can do one of those excuse me, one of those pseudocode notes, little sticky notes that we talked about earlier. So to do that, you can do a right click on your block and choose add comment. Okay, and then that's going to get something that looks like a sticky note. And then here we can type whatever we want. We can something that helps us understand what that function is for, in case we come back and we're wondering, okay, now what was that all about? So this one is going to basically just again have that shark fall from the top to the bottom of the screen. So to do that, we can just type in shark falls from top to bottom, or whatever you want, whatever helps you remember what this function is for. Okay. Alright. Okay, so let's go ahead and now we're going to want to go over to the motion button, and we're going to look for another X position block, and this time we're going to choose the go to X and Y position. Okay, so go ahead and drag that out, and set that up there. Okay, and so now what we're coding is we're coding this this shark to start at a particular spot on the screen and then end at a certain spot. So let's go ahead, and right now it has a -13 and a 91 on mine. And what we're going to do is go ahead and click the red block there, and you see how the shark went to a particular spot. So go ahead and you can move him around and click on it again, and it'll put him back in that exact X and Y position spot every time. Okay. So now what we want to do is, if you remember in the game example, this shark was bouncing back and forth randomly, right, from different spots from top to bottom. So that makes it more of a challenge, right, and adds to the fun of the game. It's random, right? So what we're going to want to do is go over here to the green button operators, and we're going to choose this pick random block. Okay, and we're going to actually drop that in. And this note you can click and drag if it's in your way. You can click and just move it over here, wherever. Okay, so now pick random 1 to 10. So that means it's going to pick a number between 1 and 10, and it's going to drop it in there for that X position. So right now it says pick random 1 to 10, and you can change this. And let's just change it to some other numbers. Let's have a minus number in there, maybe 200, and then -200 to, let's say, 25. Okay, so that means that the shark might start somewhere over here, might start somewhere over there. Okay, for the X position. Now for the up and down Y position, we're going to want to put a different number in. So right now it's at 91, and let's go ahead and click on the red block to see what happens. Do you see how the shark is kind of randomly moving around? So that's a little bit more about what we're going for. Okay. Alright, so right now it's at 91 for the Y position. and again that means that he's going to be um, the somewhere on the vertical axis here. Right now it's at 91. You can change this if you want. Okay, so now what we're going to do is go over here to the control button, and we're going to choose a repeat block, and click and drag that down. And now we're going to go to the green operators, and we're going to choose, let's see here, we're going to choose this green block here, which there's a blank, and then there's the word or, and then there's another blank, and what we're going to do is drop that right into the repeat there. Alright, and we're going to set this up so that when the fish either hits the bottom of the screen or hits scratchy here, the fish is something's going to happen. Oops, make sure your fish is selected there. Okay, so now we're going to go over to the sensing blocks here in the blue, and we're going to choose touching and drop that right in. See how there's kind of a diamond shape, and it'll just fit right in there. And we're going to choose touching or repeat until touching sprite 1, which is scratchy. Or we're going to grab another touching the edge of the screen, okay? Alright, so we have our function set up here, and we have the fish, he's going to appear in a random spot, and then he's going to keep appearing in a random spot until he's either he hits scratchy or he touches the edge. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to grab one more block, change Y, and we're going to drag that out and put it down here. So let's go ahead and click on our flag and run our code and see what happens here. Okay. Alright, so oops, I forgot to grab a fall from sky block here. We created our function here, but we didn't actually get the block for it yet. So let's do that. And let's see here. Make sure I got the right, go in the right direction here. Okay, so just reviewing my notes here. Bear with me. Alright, so what we're going to want to do here is we're going to want to go back and click on your shark sprite there, and then we're going to go to the red button, My Blocks, and we're going to grab a Fall from Sky block. And again, remember this little block here contains all this code up here, okay? So we click on that. You're going to see how the fish is moving around there, okay? Alright, so let's go ahead and we've been at this for about 45 minutes today, and I think we've covered quite a bit, and I don't want to overwhelm anybody, and it's always good to take a break from this stuff when we're learning new concepts, because it can get a little bit confusing, I think, and maybe a little bit too much if we go too far, right? So I think this is a good place to stop for today. We got our new vocabulary terms and our concepts, and we're applying them now. Things like functions and algorithms and pseudocode. And we'll go ahead and pick up where we left off next week on our project. Okay, so let me go ahead and clear out of that one. Just a moment here. And we will go back to our classroom screen, if you will. Okay, so we will sign off for today, and thanks for joining me, and hopefully you picked up on some of that today, and if it didn't all make sense or seem like it clicked, that's okay. Just wherever you're at, I'm sure is fine, and if we come back to it again later, I think things will start sinking in and making more sense. That's the way it works with anything in life, right? So you just have to kind of practice and repeat, and eventually you get it. So in the meantime, we will see you next week, October 8th, and there'll be a new video posted up here. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, please drop me a line there. You can call or email. And if you haven't registered for the class yet, you can do that. And just email me, and I'll send you the links for that information. And so, all right, well, have a great week, and we will see you next time. And take care. All right, bye.